Open. All right, welcome. It is week 2. This is our first lecture of the week, which is fun. We have a couple of different housekeeping things. Just as a reminder, discussion questions and core assignments are due this Sunday. If we come and we look here, we're now in week 2, but they are due this Monday. You've got your functions, basic 2, nested dictionaries and lists. Those are your 2 core assignments. And you have a discussion question. So please make sure you go do that. If you have any issues, please feel free to let me know that, but we'll make sure that you have all the information and knowledge you need up to this point. You should actually already be pretty much there because again, we covered too much information last Thursday, but that's okay. We can get more information now. Just as a reminder, if you want to get the code from the class itself, you just need to give me your GitHub email or username. Either one works. Just make sure you email me that just for privacy, for privacy situations. Just shoot me an email. I know Estrella, you already did that. I added you as a collaborator. Really, that just allows you to go see the code that we do in class. I just go and I push it to GitHub. So that way you can refer back anytime you're learning or any sort of information like that. So please make sure if that's something you're interested in, you want our code, just make sure that you send that over to me. And then lastly, we have some retake, or I wanted to note, if you are retaking, I didn't communicate this, but it should have been communicated. If you are retaking, the platform will show that you have submitted your assignments because of maybe last stack you submitted that assignment. Though it shows that, it's like my biggest gripe with our platform. I think platform's great, except this. Though it shows that you've submitted it, the system, when it's reading what assignments you've done, it only reads what you've done since the start of class, which is the 8th, so last Monday. So you will need to just resubmit those. If if you want to redo it, get it fresh, that's fine. If you're like, hey, this is a waste of my time, I already know how to do this, feel free to just resubmit an old assignment. That's okay too. So just wanted to make sure and reiterate that if you do retake, or if this is a retake for you, please make sure you resubmit that. Same thing with your discussion questions. It'll look like you've already done it. Make sure, which is a little bit hard, but make sure you just go in and do it. Can't remember, just go look at all the responses, see if you've done it. If you have, great. There's only a couple of people in this class, so it's not gonna, you shouldn't have to look too far there. Okay, I wanted to recap. Are there any, I guess before we do that, any questions on housekeeping? Any questions just on class itself, how it runs, anything you need? Cool. I just wanted to recap a little bit about dictionaries and conditional statements because these are really important. So if we're talking here, we're talking about lists. How do I declare lists? If I wanted to have a list of numbers 1 to 5, how would I start that? And I wanted to call it listy.
You can just name it listy equals to whatever it is, the numbers.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. So I can just say listy. This is again just my variable name. A variable can be any sort of data type. In this case, it's a list, and then it's got numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And just as a reminder, this is by index positions. Anybody remember what index position the first number is?
0.
0. Yeah, exactly. It's 0. Cool. If I wanted to get, let's do a little bit more of an advanced. If it says something like this, and I wanted to get the number 9, what could I do? What could I print to get the number 9 here? Print.
It would be the number 8. Oh, you'll put print. Listy, and then I guess parentheses 8.
8.
Correct.
Okay, let's see what happens here. If I come here, I'm gonna go to my terminal, new terminal. I'm going to say Python 3 main.
Oh, I think I gave you the wrong number.
Okay, what do you think it is?
Let me see what. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh no, I was right. 8. Sorry.
Okay, let's see. Uh-oh. List index out of range. Huh. Jeffrey, any idea?
Which number did you say you want to print again?
I
Let me
want to
see.
get the number 9 here.
Okay, let me see. 0, 1. Should you call 8, 7?
7 or 8? Let's try 7. Oops, not 76.
Or maybe
Right
they're
here.
forgetting.
Uh-oh. I still get this out of range. Remember, when we're dealing with lists, it's sort of like, I love this analogy, especially when we have what we call a nested list, right? A list within a list. In order for you to get into this,
I just
right,
remembered. Yep.
you gotta, yeah, exactly. Good job. I love this analogy. It's like peeling back an onion, right? In order to get to the core, you gotta peel off a layer. And then you can assess and say, okay, am I at the layer I need? No, I'm not. Okay, let me peel it back again. And so, Estrella, you said you remembered it. In order for me to get into here, what do I first have to do?
So you have to have 2 numbers. You have to have the first bracket. It would have to be. I'm trying to remember. I'm looking at my notes. That's why I was like, hold up, let me go back to it.
Yeah.
The first number would be. I don't want to say 9. It will be 8, and then it will be 0, 1, 2, 3. The second number will be 3.
8 and 3. Okay.
All right.
So let's
I?
see what
Hopefully,
happens
I'm
here.
right.
Let's see what happens here. List index out of range. This is a great, and I'm glad that this is happening because I think it's important for us to know how to read errors as well, right? When it's saying
Yes.
list index out of range, what that's saying, what that error is communicating is we chose a number, in this case 8, that is outside the bounds of what my list has. So if we remember, let me get my little annotation tool. Okay, this is 0, right? We start at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And remember, just like we're peeling back an onion, this entire piece here counts as 1, right? That's just one instance. If I had something else, like let's say, let's undo that. Let's say I have here, I say, true. If I have this, then my entire list, the end, right? This is 5, and this is my 6th number. And so when we typed 8 and 7, and we got the list index out of range, it's saying, hey, it's looking for index 7, but we don't have that, right? It's
Oh,
outside, it's past the length of my list. So that's what this list index out of range. And so we could have used that in saying, okay, well, if 7 was out of range, 8's definitely going to be out of range, right?
Got it. Okay, that's what it was.
Yeah.
So it's being that the bracket itself becomes its own number. So that the 5 would be replacing the 8. So it'll be 5 and then 3, because then they'll start over 0, 1, 2, 3.
0,
Gotcha.
1, 2, 3. Exactly. So let's do that. Let's try that. Let me clear all this. So let me clear. But I put this as 5. Save it. Now we get the number 9. Great job. Yeah, remember, though this does have a lot of numbers inside of it, at the very top level of our list, this is just treated as one entity. It could have a million numbers in it. It's just treated as one index position. And so when we do that, we target that first portion of our layer, 5. And then if we have the ability to, we could say, okay, let's go into that, and then let's target another number, and then we get, that's where we get the 9. Cool. Great job. Great. One thing I wanted to expand on a little bit when it comes to lists is there's another tool or another thing that I think you guys should learn, and that's called a slice. And so it's a way that we can get information from our list in a different way. So for example, we have listy here. I can say something like this. I can say print listy. And what this first, it's gonna look a little bit confusing, right? We're sort of building on just the singular number. Instead, what we have is 2 numbers here. What this first number is telling me is, where do you want it to start, end, and if we need to, we can step. What does this look like? Do you guys remember what also uses a start, an end, and a step?
The loops.
Yeah, exactly. Just like whenever we did in range, that start and end step, it's sort of the same idea, right? What a slice will do is it will take a slice or a portion of my array or my list, sorry, and we can dictate how much we want. So what we're saying at the beginning is, hey, I want you to start at index position 0. I want you to go up to, but do not include, index position 5. And so all it will give us is our index positions 0 through 4. So if I run this, we just get 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now I could say, if we go to 6 and I run this again, you see that we now get this extra portion, right? It goes all the way up to, but does not include 6.
Oh, yeah.
Now, what I could also do, let's see if this works. Remember, in our range, we didn't have to put where we wanted it to start, right? It just, by default, had a default parameter of 0. So if I do this, I get the same thing. So if you just see a colon and then 6, what it's saying is it's inferring that by default, you're going to start at 0. You start at this index. Now I could go here. And then you see that I only get 3, 4, 5. I'm getting rid of these 2 because I'm starting at index position 2. But if you don't have anything, you could say, okay, great. That's going to get me all of, it's going to start at 0, but this is, I'm identifying where I want it to stop. The inverse is also true, where I can say, 3 and not put anything at my end. And then what I can get is just 4, 5, and it's going to go all the way through the end of my list. So slicing is just a way that I can basically get a portion, a slice of my list. And if I wanted to do something with it, I can.
Well,
Yeah.
can you repeat this last portion? You said you started at 3,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And you didn't put a number at the end. So 0, 1, 2, 3. So
Yeah,
okay,
so it starts at 0, 1, 2. It starts here at 3, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because I did not put an end, I just put a colon and I left it blank. If I leave that blank, it's just going to assume I want the rest of my list.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
In the same way that if I would have put, 4 and I just kept, I kept this part of my colon blank. Like I could put this, or I could put this. Because I put the left side of my colon blank, it's going to assume that I want to start at index position 0. And then I go all the way up to, but don't include 4. So I get 0, 1, 2, 3. And then when I get to 4, which is my number 5, it stops.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Now with the step as well, there's just like a trick if you ever want to flip around your list. you could just do this in -1, and that's going to give you a flipped version of your list. Colon,
Mhm.
colon, and then your step is -1, which means it's just going to start here, and then it's going to get. So it's going to go this way. But really, the big things to know, you're never really going to use that. The big things to know is how to slice. Let's see what it does if I do this. Just so. You can see that we start at index position 0. We go all the way up to, but do not include 6. And our step is we want every 2 index positions, right? So we get 1. We skip the 2, we get 3. Skip the 4, we get 5. And now we would have skipped 5, right? Here's index position 5. But remember, this is up to, but not including 6. So though we skip this, doesn't matter. So we only get 1, 3, and 5. That's just because our step changed. Normally, though, when you're dealing with slices, you're just going to deal with the start and end. Not really going to mess with step a ton. Does that make sense?
I have a question, Will.
Sure.
So when do we ever use slices?
Yeah, great question. When we have a bunch of information, we might want to get rid of the first one and then just have the rest of them. We might just be able to print that out, show that when we're dealing, it does come in handy, especially whenever you, let's say, here's a great example.
Yeah.
When we get to our exam, let's say that I wanted to show, let's say for example, you have messages and I wanted you to show, I wanted you to retrieve from the database all the messages, but I just wanted you to show me the 3 most recent ones, right? What you could do is if you get in a list back or a list of objects or whatever it is, be a list of objects back from our database. A great way just to get the top 3 is if it's sorted, right? First we'd have to sort it, but then we could just use a slice and just say, messages equals, DB messages slice 0, or like this, or actually it'd be this, right? Because 0, 1, 2. And that's going to get me my 3, even though my API or my backend is going to give me all of my messages or whole, 10 or 20 or whatever. This is a way that I could just get your 3 most recent is by using a slice. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Great. And we'll keep working with stuff like this. Slice is something that you'll use, but we're not going to use it at a time, but it'll come in handy here and there. Okay. Something I wanted you to learn, and this is something I can honestly tell you you're not going to use for the entire class. But you, it's just good to know them, is there's another data type called a tuple. That is similar to a list in dictionary, or more so similar to a list. But just know that once you create a tuple, it's immutable, so you can't change it. So here, we have one other thing to keep in mind is it's a parenthesis, not a square bracket. That identifies that this is a tuple, right? It's a tuple. So let's see, it's the same sort of thing. If I wanted to print it off, it operates the same way, which is quite frustrating because it still uses the bracket. But if I wanted to do that, I still get the number 6. Cool. But if I wanted to say something like this, tup of 5 equals 7, you could see that I got a little squiggly. And then it's saying that tuple does not have a set item, meaning you can't reassign its value. Once you've declared it, you can't then later on change it in your code. It doesn't operate that way. And so if you think of like JavaScript when you had constants and they were sort of immutable, tuple is really kind of the only thing in Python that we would identify as immutable, because variables, we can't do that. Now, what would we do this for? Why would we ever use a tuple? It kind of seems limiting. I would agree with you. There are certain places or certain things, let's say if you wanted to have like maybe an address, address is not going to change. Maybe if you've got like if you're connecting to like a web host and you've got some sort of port or you've got some sort of connection string or something that's cannot change, you don't want it to change anywhere else in your code, that's when a tuple is going to come in. If you've got longitude and latitude coordinates, that those are set, that's what it needs to be, and you want to make sure that that doesn't change somewhere else, okay, then that's when a tuple is going to come in handy. It is, again, few and far between. I don't know that you don't have to do one for your I don't think you're going to have to do one for the entire course, but I just wanted you to be aware. It operates the same way as a list. You can have multiple types in it. You could have composite types. You could have dictionaries in it. Operates the exact same way. The only thing that's different is that once you declare it, you can't redefine it later on in your code. Because like right here, I could say listy of, let's say, 1 equals this. Cool. And then if I were to print listy, I just want listy, we're going to see that though my listy is this, I can reassign its values. And then now 1 becomes the 17,890. I cannot do that with a tuple, as we saw. We get an error. And we can even just see what that looks like. Oops. Just to see the error. Because I think errors are good to know. See, tuple object does not support item assignment. So, cool. Any questions on tuples?
No, you said that it's pretty much we set the name or the variable and you can't rename it or declare it. We cannot change what we declared or change the name.
Yeah, we can't like change the values in here, right?
Okay.
So here I tried to reassign a value. I tried to reassign index position 5 to the number 7, and it's saying it does not support that. Once it's been declared, you cannot, in the same way that we just went and changed this value, right? A list is what we call mutable. We can change it. I can go in and say, okay, now this is it. I can append, I can add, I can do a bunch of stuff to a list. Whereas here I can't, right? Once it's declared, once my tuple is declared, I can't change it or add to it. I don't know if you guys remember where we had like dot push. Do you guys remember dot push when it came to arrays in JavaScript?
Was that like push and pop?
Push and pop, yeah.
Yeah.
So we can do something a little bit similar. We could just say append. That is our push. For Python, we can just say append. If I say print listing, and what that will do is now we can see at the end we have 11. At the end we have 11. And there's a bunch of different things that aren't really necessary for right now, but just wanted to say that we can also do that.
I have a question, Will.
Yeah.
So when it comes to tuples, can we say like the length is always like fixed or?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
Yep,
Sim-
it'll always be fixed. So once, not that like every tuple has to have the same length, but once you declare a tuple, that length is fixed.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like since it's immutable, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly. Like I could have a tuple with a length of 5, and somewhere
Yeah.
else in my code, I could have a tuple with a length of 2. That's okay. But they, as long they're not the same tuple, right? They're two different entities by themselves. But the one that's 5 could never become 2, and the one that is 2 could never become 5. I could never append and add to that. Cool. We're cruising. Let's see what else. What else did I want to talk about today? Slices. I think I just wanted to maybe get a little bit more practice with dictionaries and conditional statements for you guys. Like I said, I messed up and on Thursday talked about everything I was supposed to talk about today. So I'm just trying to do a more of a reset or just like a recap with you. So let's see if I've got another key value pair. We'll call it DicD. Cool. And let's say that I've got this. If I wanted to get, well, first off, can anybody remember what this is called? What are these two things called? What is unique about a dictionary?
That they use the squiggly brackets. I remember that.
A dictionary uses squiggly brackets.
And no,
And
And it,
a list is identified by the index position. Can you remember what the dictionary is identified by?
they are not duplicates.
Not duplicates, no. What is, do you remember what is on the left of the colon? What's this called?
Oh, the variable.
It's not a variable.
Oh, okay.
Remember, it's called a key value pair. Key. So these are going to be your dictionary keys here. And on the right of your colon is going to be your values. So the big thing to take away from a dictionary, like if I could tell you anything, just know that it's a key value pair. So when you're talking to people who are in the industry or you're trying to get a job, they ask you, what data type, this is a very primitive question, but if they were to say, what data type has key value pairs is always a dictionary. At least in Python, it's called an object in JavaScript, but same.
so you said the left side are key values.
The left side is a key,
Okay, gotcha.
and then the left side of the colon is a key. The right side of the colon is the value here. So let's say that I had a,
Excuse me.
no, you're fine. Okay. Yeah, so these are key value pairs. And it is very annoying, but let's say I wanted to print off or get the value from an object. The way I do that is, and I say it's annoying because Python, it's a great language, but it does some annoying things like a tuple. Why do you do brackets here? Well, it's because if we do the parenthesis, then it infers it's a method, but that's a little bit confusing, right? 'Cause this is parenthesis and this is a bracket. Same thing with our dictionary. If we have a dictionary here, if I wanted to get the value at the name key, I say dict because that's my dictionary name. Brackets, the key name, and then bracket again. And what this will do is let me do this. Let's go back to my terminal. I get John. I get John. If I wanted the age, I could just say age here. Save it, run it. I get 23.
Oh.
So in order for me to get that, I guess target this value right here. So if I say, let's try this. I don't know what this is actually going to yield. I think I do. If I just want the keys, let's see if this works. Yeah. if I just want the keys, I can say the dictionary itself dot keys. And that's going to get me name, age, location. Same thing if I say values. It's going to give me my dictionary values of John 23 Nairobi. And this is the one I'm not sure. See if this works. Items is should get me both. All right, so let's try it one more time. Yeah. So items, but notice what it gives me back. If I just say dot items here, it gives me back a tuple, a list of tuples where name is John, age is 23, location Nairobi. And I'll do these. That way you have all of them. You just wanted the keys. There we go. Perfect. So I'll keep you that. That way you guys, if you have the code, then you can look at that. Okay. Last thing I wanted to talk about is going to be our conditional statements. And then anything that you guys are fuzzy on, we can take the rest of the time for class to do that. But again, I just wanted to get some practice in these. These are our if, elif, and else. So I can do a couple things. So let's just look at this first one. I've got, and let's go. I'm going to do another one. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. If 5 is greater than 3, then I want to print, right? This is my condition. This is my operator. And then if this is true, right? This is going to evaluate into something as either true or false. If it's true, it enters into my if statement. In this case, this one, we'll do this. Just want to show you guys. Okay. With this conditional statement, what do you guys think it will, what do you think it will print? If 5 is greater than 3, print 5 is greater than 3. Is that true?
That's
That's true, right?
Yes, it's true.
Then it says elif is 5 is equal to 5. Well, that's also true, right?
Yes.
Okay. Else 5 is not greater than 3. Okay, that's not true. So we have 2 true instances here within my conditional statement. What do you guys think is going to print? Is it going to print both of them? Is it going to print one of them? Is it going to print the last one? The first one? What do you guys think?
I think it's gonna print the first one because it's already true.
Okay. Jeffrey, what do you think?
I think it's gonna print the last one.
Okay.
5.
Okay. Let's see. Prints the first one. Remember, I'm going to write this down. The minute. No. Wow, CodePilot is unreal.
I know, I was just like thinking what you were gonna say and it was just already putting it for you.
That is insane how it is so smart. I mean, I've done this for a while, so I don't know if it's like trained on.
I was gonna say, it has to be your algorithm, right? It knows what you've already
guess.
done.
Well,
Yeah.
well, yeah. I was just trying to read this one. Like 5 is not greater than 3. Oh yes, it should come the first one for sure.
Yeah, it's the first one, right?
Yeah.
And so the minute, and this is exactly what it write. The minute in any conditional, let's say you can have as many elifs as you want, right? We could have 100 elifs, 100 different conditions that we could have. The minute it finds and it sort of completes our condition by finding a true statement, the rest of the code is ignored. So though both of these are technically true, right? 5 is equal to 5. Cool. 5 is also greater than 3. Cool. So if both of these are true, it's going to be the first one it reads. That's what it's going to do. That's what it's going to do. There's a great, and let's actually do this because we have some time. So there's a great, really sort of classic algorithm that used to be sort of, in order to get a job, you'd have to do this, but it's way too easy. So they kind of stopped doing that. But it's called FizzBuzz. Have you guys heard about it?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So what FizzBuzz is if basically it's going to give you, all the numbers. It's going to give you all the numbers from 1 to 100. And what it wants to check is if a number is divisible by 3, then it wants you to print fizz. If a number is divisible by 5, it wants you to print buzz. And if a number is divisible by 3 and 5, then it wants you to print fizz buzz. And then if a number is not divisible by 3 or 5, just print the number. Cool. Well, there's one thing that we have to learn, and we didn't talk about it. I think I gave it to you guys as homework, but we'll go ahead and talk about it now, and then we'll do this before. It's called a modulus operator. Modulus operator. And what it does is it allows you to take two numbers. You use the modulus operator in the same way you use any of these other operators. But instead of giving you true or false, it is going to give you the remainder of your numbers. What do I mean by that? So if I'm here and I say something like this, 5 modulus 3. What it's going to check is it's going to say, does 3 go into 5? Well, it does, right? One time. It can only go in one time. Because if it goes in twice, that's 6. Goes in one time at 3. But I have a remainder of 2. I have 2 left over, right? I've taken up, out of 5 spaces, I've only taken up 3. I've got 2 left. So what modulus will give us is this number 2. Do another example. 6 modulo 3. Does 3 go into 6? It does. It goes in 2 times, right? 3 times 2 is 6. And because it goes in evenly, it gives us a remainder of 0. A remainder of 0. So all modulus does is it says, okay, great, what is my remainder, right? It basically, yeah, it just says, what is my remainder here? So one little trick we've learned is that anytime you do modulus 2 on anything, so any number modulus 2, because 2 is such a small number, it's going to give you one of 2 answers, right? And the idea is like binary. It's either a 1 or a 0. It's not actual binary, but that's just sort of a way to think about it. But it's only going to give you 1 or 2 answers, no matter what number in the world you do. Numbers go on forever. Even if you do any of those numbers, any whole number, it's going to give you a 1 or a 0. And the reason is because modulo 2 goes in, and because it's, every other number is even, does this go into 7? It does 3 times. Doesn't matter how many times we just know it goes in 3 times, and it gives us a remainder of 1. Now, if I were to say 8 modulo 2, we know that it goes in. 8 is an even number, so 2 goes in evenly. Therefore, it gives me a number or a remainder of 0. So our trick for knowing if a number is odd or even is we could just say, hey, if modulo 2 and if it's equal to 0, then we know that it's even. So I could say, something like if 8 modulo 2 is equal to 0, print even. So it's going to compare these numbers. It's going to give us a value. In this case, it's going to be 0 because it goes in evenly. And then it's going to take whatever that number we got, which was 0. And it's going to say 0 equal to 0. What is, right? Because that's even. Or because, yes, it is. So then it's going to go in and it's going to print even. The inverse. Oops, let me delete all these. The inverse is also true. If I say 9, or let's just come here. If I know that something modulo 2 equals 1, then that tells me that that's going to be a odd number, right? Anytime you get a 1 remainder, that tells you it's odd. Anytime you get a 0 remainder, then that's going to be an even number. So that's just a little trick. In your homework, it's going to ask odds and evens. That's how you're going to do it, using the remainder. But we need to know modulus in order for us to do this. Okay, let me get rid of this. Let's do FizzBuzz. So I want to, I'm going to come up here. Back up there. Okay. So we want to go all the way to 100. All the numbers from 0 to 100. If it's divisible by 3, print fizz. If it's divisible by 5, print buzz. If it's divisible by both, we do FizzBuzz. If a number is not divisible, then just print the number. So let's build this out. So I can do something like this. I can say for I in range, remember we're just going to 100. So if we're doing that and we're using range, we have to go 1 over. 1 over, right? I'm going to turn off Copilot for right now. Well, you used to be able to turn it off real quick. Oh. Okay. I want us to be able to write it, or else it's just going to give us the answer. Okay. So for I in range, we're going to start at 1, and we're going to go all the way through 101 because we want up to 100. What do you think we should do here? Remembering that we have to make sure that if we've got a unique condition, we usually want to put that one first, right? Because if not, it can always be skipped. So knowing that, what do you think we would do here? I could say if I modulo, 3 equals 0. Remember, if something's divisible by 3, and if it's divisible by 3 and we do a modulus 3, then it's going to give us a remainder of 0. In the same way that 3 goes into 6, it's divisible by 3, gives us 0. So let's just get our stuff there. Let's go from the top and then we'll kind of go from there and see if we need to. Then I want to print the fizz. Elif. I can say I modulus 5 equals 0. Then I could say print buzz. Elif I modulus 3 equals 0. And because it's got to be both of these, right? I modulus 5 equals 0. Then I want to print FizzBuzz. Else, meaning it's none of those, I just print I. Okay. So let's walk through what we did. We said for I in range, we're creating a loop here, a for loop. We're starting at 1, going all the way up to, but not including 101. Then we have our condition, our first condition that says, hey, if I modulo 3, if it's divisible by 3, gives us a remainder of 0, then I want to print fizz. Cool, this one's done. If that's not that case, but we get to 5, and it's divisible by 5, print buzz. Cool, this one's done. Elif. It's both of these, 3 and 5. We print FizzBuzz. Cool. And then lastly, if it's none of that, then we just print I. Cool. So this will work. Let's go to my terminal. Clear it. And then let's see. Ooh. Okay. So let's go, I'm gonna clear this, sorry. I'm gonna say Python, main py. Okay, so it's working, right? We're starting it. We're saying 5 is greater than 3. Oh, that must be from, oh, yeah, it's up here. Whoops. So let's skip that, but we get 1, 2, fizz. Okay, that's good. Because 3 is divisible by 3. Great. 4, buzz. 6, fizz. Okay, so it's looking like it's working. But when I get to 15 here, I see I get fizz. Well, 15 is a multiple of 3 and a multiple of 5. So I should have gotten fizz buzz here. So what can we do to our code to assure that I would have gotten fizz buzz there instead of just fizz?
So now that you bring this up, it's reminding me of the practice that I was working on, that I was kind of asking for help on what's this app called?
Discord.
The Discord, yeah, thank you. So what I noticed is, in order for it to come up, the fizz buzz, we have to put that on top. I don't know why, but that's what I learned while I was moving everything around, because I was like, what am I doing wrong? Like, everything else is coming up except for that.
Yeah.
So that's what I learned, that I had to move that up so the whole word would come up versus just separately.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the point of the whole point of this thing, is to teach that when we've got a conditional statement like this, we know that if this is last, which is what we just saw, well, it's never going to reach that because this condition is already taken care of up here, and this condition was taken care of down here, which was our second one. So it would never reach that. So when we're dealing with conditional statements, we always want to make sure that we put our most unique statements at the beginning, right? Just to make sure there's any overlap, you put your most unique ones at the top. And then if it doesn't hit that right here, this has to have both of them. Then if it doesn't hit that, then we can go ahead and, go on to the next one. So if I again clear this and then rerun it. Now we can go down, we see 11 and we see fizz buzz. Perfect. So now this is working. This is working like a charm. We get fizz buzz again, we get fizz buzz again. So now this is working. We are all taken care of here. And we did fizz buzz, which is sort of a legendary little thing to do, especially as an intro portion. Are there any questions on this? That's all I have for tonight. So I just wanted to make sure. We even went and did a couple more things than I wanted, which is awesome. Like the modulus operator and a fizz buzz. But did that help? Is there any questions on this?
Yes, it did help. I have a question, Will.
Mm-hmm.
Can this be like an interview question in a way?
So it used to be. It depends on what you're doing. Interview questions have gotten a little bit harder. Just being super blunt. There's these different data structures that you'll need to know. And I think I will be your instructor. So we'll get into, when we get into projects and algorithms, we're going to talk more about trees and singly linked lists and doubly linked lists. So the way that data has advanced a little bit. This used to be one, but honestly, programming has gotten much more advanced than this. So some of those, though I wish that this was one.
So
No, it's probably too easy, unfortunately. But yeah, it also depends on the company too, right? Like, if you're doing a startup and somebody doesn't really know tech and they see a fizz buzz, it could be it. So I won't say there's no chance. But like when I interviewed at Palantir, just like a big data company, mine was way harder, so hard. Hence why I don't work at Palantir. So, yeah, I wish it was this easy though. That'd be great. A lot of stress off me as well. So, cool. Any other questions on this?
No. I wanted to ask you about the practice for last week on the Hello World assignment, but I can't remember exactly what part. It took me a while to figure it out,
Okay.
but now that I'm opening it to see what it was, I realized, after thinking about it and kind of going and looking at it over and over, I believe it was because I was missing like a symbol on the dot format portion.
Where you?
Under after favorite food, so there's the dot format.
Yeah. I would say that you will rarely, if ever, use dot format.
Okay, yeah, because I was like, what in the world? I figured it out, but it
Yeah.
was just like, what in the world? I couldn't figure out why it kept giving me an error, because I was able to complete the practice assignment because I feel like that kind of helps me.
Yeah,
I
for
try to
sure.
work that first before I get into
Yeah.
the assignment. Sometimes it helps,
Totally.
sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
Sometimes it backfires on me. But
Yeah.
yeah, I was kind of breaking my head. I was just like, I can't figure out what I'm doing wrong. And just like I initially I was getting like number 1 was done, number 2 was done, printing my name, everything, and then but number 4, it was just not working, the dot format portion. And then I went back to the example, this portion. I was just like, okay, what am I missing?
Yeah.
What am I putting wrong? Because I have the brackets in the right place. And it was just like a dot, a period, or comma, and it
Comma.
magically worked.
Yeah, it's probably the separation. And the reason I say you won't use dot format is because if you look at this, even this example, you're like, okay, my name is, curly bracket, and I am curly bracket. Okay, format. Okay, where's my variable? If you're going to do a curly bracket, you might as well just do an F string,
Which
right?
is easier.
Yeah,
Yes.
which is so much easier. You can just do an F string, and that's why I say you're really rarely going to use format. I mean, you might use something. We will use something like this. We're going to use this whenever we deal with databases, but we will talk about that when we get there. But it's
Okay.
just a way that we can prevent SQL injection into our database, which we'll talk way about that
Okay.
when that time comes. But this is really the only one that you're going to use slightly.
Okay.
So.
Okay. No, that's good. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, because again, like I started working on this, and then most of it was done, and I was like, okay, I was feeling pretty confident. And then all of a sudden, like, I was just getting errors nonstop, and I was just like, oh my god! And I tried to fix it. I did one, try to fix it, and then it just like it wouldn't run the whole thing.
Sure.
So I didn't know, like once I run the terminal, and it does, like, let's say the first couple of them and they're already right, and then I get an error, it won't print the couple ones that I did right. It'll just go back to the error until I fix the error. Is that correct? Is that how the terminal works?
It should go top to bottom, and
Regardless?
typically
Okay.
because it reads top to bottom. So like, let's say that I put this. We know that this code breaks it, right? Let's put it here. What it should do is it should do all of these, print tuple 5, and then we should get our error. So let's clear. Run. So we get, it runs top to bottom. So it does all of our FizzBuzz, right? Because Python goes top, it'll only run and interpret top to bottom. So it doesn't even know that this error is coming. And so only when it gets to line 65 does it give the error. So we get all this. Then we get 6, which is number 5 here, right? That's this index position. And then we get our error. So only once it gets there. So that's how it should operate.
Okay. Yeah, because I was just like, I was looking at I went back to your video to see, like, how the bottom corner says style length, it has all these. Yours, on the top, it says terminal port code reference log Azure
Oh,
and
Azure, yeah.
yeah, the ZSH.
Uh-huh.
What does that ZSH stand
Yeah,
for?
so this is it used to be Bash. So because I'm on a laptop, good question. Really good questions. I'll go through a couple of these. Um, because I'm on a MacBook Pro, this used to be
Okay.
a Bash command prompt, but Apple changed to a ZSH. So this is just what I'm using. If you're on like a Windows, you could do like command prompt, PowerShell, Bash, any of those. All I use is ZSH.
Okay.
Yeah, Azure, these are just plugins. So Azure is just Microsoft's cloud. And so I have extensions like mine will look different. Like Amazon Q is their AI, so like their Chat GPT that I use. Chat is actually I have Chat GPT and Copilot. So I can just
Okay.
ask Chat GPT a question. So these are just that's why it just looks a little bit different. But you should at least see these four.
No, I do have those four, and then
Mhm.
I have it up to port.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So it was just kind of threw me off because I was like, how come his says the ZSH and mine says PowerShell?
Yeah,
And
you're on
I
Windows
didn't,
then.
yeah.
Mhm.
So that, I was just like, why? And I'm like, maybe that's why I'm getting the error. I was like, something's wrong. So,
No, yeah,
it,
great,
you
great
know,
question. Yeah,
okay,
no, it's
cool.
just the terminal that you're using.
And then I know that that the VS Code gave me like an update and all this other stuff. And now I have like an extra one called, let me see, because it didn't update Visual Studio. Yeah, it has Visual Studio, and then and it's like a different color now.
So Visual Studio is a different thing than Visual Studio Code, which is
Okay.
super confusing. Visual
Yeah, because
Studio is a full, what we call IDE, integrated development environment. So it's gonna have way more stuff than you probably need. Not than you probably need, way more stuff than you do need. You could just stick with
okay.
VS Code
Okay, yeah, because
because
I
it's the
wasn't
purple one.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if I uninstall it because it didn't update and it downloaded like the whole package, and I'm like, holy crap,
Yeah.
guys! Now I
Yeah.
get
No.
two windows open.
No. Yeah. You can honestly delete it. You don't need
Okay,
it. Yeah.
okay, thank you,
Yeah.
thank
Of
you,
course.
I
Of
appreciate it.
course. Any. Of course.
Class has been good. I appreciate
Great.
questions.
Yeah. No. Of course. That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, one
That's what
more.
I'm here for. Go ahead, Jeffrey. So sorry.
Yeah, just like what Estrella said, I mean, like update, you see, like when you're using a
Mm-hmm.
Mac, let's say, you see those notification like update. What
Mm-hmm.
would you say about that? Because like last time that contributed a lot to my workbench breaking and just installing something that I wasn't used to. So,
Yeah. I would say that those two are separate things. The
mhm.
update is going to be VS Code itself. The application is updating. Where your issue arises is you update, and I'm in the same boat. So it's not just like you did this. Lots of people are dealing with this issue. They're also trying to push people to a new cloud thing. So that's part of it is they're just trying to get people to pay more money. Um, but the operating system that you're using, that whole operating system, is not supported by that application. Now VS Code's great. They're up to date, they're whatever, but it's just the ERD. There's another tool that we can use. It's an extension that we'll use whenever we get there.
Yeah.
But those are just separate. VS Code that updates I get it too. Anytime I reopen it, after a day or two, it's like, oh, this is what we've updated. That's just them making the product better. What happened with you and what with the ERD situation is that when we all updated our operating system with Apple, that was no longer supported. And so this is just a great example of, let's say that was our day to day and we had to deal with Workbench. We always want to, or we would want to, be more cognizant of what the update does and see if our computers supports it. So in the same way that I said that, very few, if any, companies do less than Python 3. Well, sometimes their servers, their blanks cannot support, or maybe they have a dependency or something important within their project is dependent on Python 2 and they just can't update to Python 3 because it'll break a bunch of stuff in the same way that, you know, because you updated your operating system, it now doesn't work. So when we get into our actual jobs, we will want to be cognizant and aware of, okay, before I update, is my current operating system supported? Are there bugs? Are there issues? Should I wait? Do I need to do it right now? Usually my thing before I update is like, unless it's a big security thing or it's, you know, a security patch. Usually I'll just say like, hey, I'll just hold off for a bit because there's going to be bugs.
Oh yeah.
And then once that's done, then you know, I'm like, okay, then I'll update. But that's just something to keep in mind. But okay,
So
friends.
the best way
Uh,
just to ignore it. Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. We'll talk to you soon. We'll see you
Thank you.
Thursday.
Yep. Have a good one.
Take care, everybody.
I appreciate it.
Bye.